So, shit, he's going to try and cut me short now. Okay, so esoteric magic and the mythology in fine art. Art is the realm of the imagination. Clue to its meanings within the word itself. I, the magician, create my world. And art can be used as a magical tool of manifestation, of invocation, or divination. And for me, art is a dance with the mystery. It's a fantastical collaboration with the unseen. To create is to be at one with the creator, and the creator loves to get involved within the act of creation, and in my experience, quite often has a very trickster-like sense of humor. My process is intuitive, and I follow clues and synchronicities and dreams that guide me as to which archetypal myth to work with, and this can be relevant both for my own individual journey and the wider collective unconscious, and can be prophetic or divinatory. As I dive into working magically with the energy in ritual, this invokes more experiences and more bizarre synchronistic adventures unfold, revealing the wisdom of the deity, usually initiating some kind of breakthrough or transformation. The experience is then integrated in artistic expression, which can also reveal many surprises on the canvas as things emerge drawn directly from the subconscious as I paint. It's quite a surrealist and magical way of working. And the surrealist movement is influenced by the development of psychoanalysis pioneered by Sigmund Freud and Chi Gung. Jung identified archetypes in the collective unconscious, as I'm sure you all know, driving behavioral patterns, and used the process of alchemy as a metaphorical template for shadow integration and transformation of consciousness. His theory of synchronicity is that it often leads to an epiphany or psychological breakthrough of some kind. So I'm going to walk you through the story of some of my paintings as examples of this process, and also refer to a lot of the other amazing artists in history that have used a similar process. So my background is initially Druidic. I grew up on Dartmoor in Devon, surrounded by stone circles like this one, Scarl, feeling the earth energy currents of the ley lines and the nature spirits. When I was quite young, I joined the Order of Bards, Ovates Druids, which I'm still a member of, amongst many other threads in the spiritual journey. One painting inspired by the Druidic goddess Bridget, the Celtic goddess of poetry, song, and childbirth. So with this one, I was doing an invocation and a prayer to Bridget on Imbolc, the 1st of February one year. I had candles and water, and I was praying for a new home, just space of the hearth and home. So I had to leave where I was, and needed to find somewhere new. And she kind of appeared in an apparition and said, I suppose I better find you somewhere to live. And I was like, yeah, that would be really useful, that would be really helpful, Bridget, thank you. And the next day, I found a little lodge with its own private silver birch woodland. And silver birch is sacred to Bridget, so she basically found me a little grove, which is really sweet. So in this painting, I don't know if you can see on there, if you come down to where I've got my artwork displayed, you can see in more detail. I went down to the birch and I was actually using plasticine and making an imprint of the bark and using that as a tool to make her skin. So the painting, the original painting, actually kind of has a signature of the tree. One of the stories we work with in Ovates is the birth of Taliesin. I'm sure a lot of you know that. It starts with an invocation of Ceridwen with her cauldron. On the full moon, she goes down to the lake and chants, like, come to me, a vision of mine, yearning of mine, desire of mine, and feels her womb rising to the moon. And she visions her son becoming a fine bard, and a shape-shifting hunt through the elements ensues, culminating in being devoured by the goddess and reborn, all good shamanic journeys of some kind of death and rebirth. And so in the first bardic grade of herbal, we work with the story, and the hunt takes you on a journey through the elements. So that's kind of what you can see here. She's kind of playing the music that is resonating in her womb, and then she's like shooting the arrow at the top. Now in this piece, the Magi's Grail, this is inspired by tarot, and it invokes the Mage's card. It's the moment the magician becomes empowered and picks up the 4 magical elemental tools, the sword, the wand, the pentacle, and the grail, and realizes that they're master of their destiny. Essentially, it's about the process of creation from spirit to matter. The 5th star of Venus is up the top. Again, yay. Come down and see these paintings in the where all the market is, and you can see them in much more detail. But you've got the fire, the spark of light at the top, and that's also the shape of Venus. And that comes down in a lightning wand, and then all the air is breathed into the sword that the masculine holds, and all the water is breathed into the grail that the feminine holds. And you see they're actually inside the giant grail, and then together they're planting the pentacle in the earth, which then grows and blossoms. So it could be the mages and the high priestess at the beginning of the tarot, it could be the lovers in the middle of the tarot, or it could be the hermaphrodite at the end of the tarot, the mystery of the chemical wedding of the sun and moon, and the harmony and balance of opposites within one form. So basically it's the beginning, the middle, and the end of the tarot, which means I don't have to paint the entire tarot deck. Of course, one of the greatest works of art on the tarot is, I've got to mention the Thug Tarot deck, created by Lady Frida Harris, Fantastic Realist, incredibly complex, precise astrological hermetic symbolism, referring to Kabbalistic correspondences that I do not have time to go into here. But in the Mages card, it fulfills Crowley's definition of magic, that the science and art of causing change to occur in conformity with will. Now this piece, Kabbalah, I have the center piece of this, and it's a triptych. I've got the middle bit with me, not the top and bottom. This is a work in progress, actually, from many years ago. I think I need to get back to it. It's about the Kabbalistic tree of life, centering on the sun and Tippereth, inspired by reading Beyond Fortune and also time visiting Jerusalem in my early 20s. So it's a vertical triptych, and it illustrates the journey. Light emanates from oneness above. Lightning strikes the first Sephiroth with pure masculine energy and is received by the archetypal womb sphere, Benar. And across the abyss, in the second panel, is Aaron Cadmon, the central sixth Sephiroth. Auspicious Jupiter, the kind king, balances Mars, the warrior. Tippereth, the golden sun, is central, symbolizing beauty, sacrifice, and harmony of the other spheres. There's Venus on the right, love and emotion, power of nature, and the mercurial Hermes on the left, the trickster god of intellect and magic. The energy flows down into the realm of dreams and the moon and Yesod, and then over another veil into Gaia, Malkuth, the bride of Adam, manifest earth. So in this way, Kabbalah charts the manifestation of spirit into matter, depending which way you want to go, the evolution of consciousness from matter to spirit. And this is my kind of like visual interpretation of that. Now I want to mention one incredible historic artist, Joffre Bossard, born in 1919 in Rotterdam. He studied the Hermetic tradition, and this is his masterpiece of his Zodiac series, Gemini. He painted it in 1975, and we see the twins of Babylonian astrology evoking the key of alchemy. They stand between the two pillars of force and form in the Kabbalah, crowned by the sun and the moon. In the center, the polarized energies find union, the harmony and balance of opposites within the hermaphrodite. And here is his piece, Hermes Trismegistus. He depicts the god of wisdom, magic, math, and medicine, author of the Corpus Hermeticism and the Emerald Tablets. So in this one, emanating from the divine mind of light is the second mind, the demiurge, a craftsman who crafted 7 governors, and they encompass the sensible world in 7 circles. Below him is the embrace of Mother Earth, nature, and to her left is 3 platonic solids. In the Timaeus, Plato describes how the elements manifest in geometric shapes, the platonic solids, and all things unfold from this. So I was working with this geometry a little bit in, I'll come back, there you go, in the piece Akhenaten. You can come and see a much larger 2-play of this piece downstairs. So Akhenaten is the Egyptian pharaoh who united Egypt and worshipped the sun. I first met his sculpture 20 years ago in Cairo, and there was a presence in the sculpture. He was kind of emanating peace. And I kind of fell in love with this sculpture. I was like, oh, I want to paint you one day. And I was about 21. And then years later, on an ayahuasca journey, these like light beings appeared in the clouds, like beaming light to earth. They said they're from Sirius or something. And he appeared in the clouds and said, about my promise, I really want you to paint me. And I said, okay. So he wanted to be more present in culture and reach more people, which I see him doing a lot. A lot of people have very transformative experiences with this painting. And so in this painting, you can see in the water, there's the flower of life, and this unfolds in Metatron's cube. Now within Metatron's cube is all the platonic solids that relate to the elements and the energy bodies. So the star tetrahedron is fire, and that's demons turning to phoenixes, the transmutation quality, going upwards, and then downwards the sun's rays coming from a 10. Akhenaten united everyone in worship of the sun, the Aten, as a divine living being. So the icosahedron is water, the emotional body, the grey in the centre. And then it's hard to see here, but when you look at the actual painting, the cube, which is on its side, is the earth, and that's the snakes turning to vines. And then the air, the dodecahedron, is the mind and the energy of air. So this piece is designed as a piece of sacred technology to harmonize your earth, air, fire, and water using the platonic solids. Now, while I was painting this, I met Maestro Ernst Fuchs, amazing guy, one of the founders of Fantastic Realism, a great peer and friend of Dali. He has a museum of his work in the Otto Wagner Villa outside of Vienna. I would recommend going to visit it. His masterpieces are absolutely incredible. He loved the Akhenaten piece, so he asked me to assist and paint for him for a while. He's since died, so I'm very happy that I got to do that. He drew on both Kabbalistic and Gnostic iconography in his fantastical visions and revived a Dutch master technique known as Misch, which is layers of tempera hatching and wheel blazes. So here in his piece, Moses before the angel of the Lord in a burning bush, 1956, it depicts the moment of epiphany when Moses' perception pierces the veil of consciousness and seen in the head of the Buddha. It's the moment of choice to bring the enslaved children of Israel to the promised land. And here under the sign of Moses is the moment that God gave Moses a sign, transforming his walking stick into a snake and back again, which is a rather impressive kind of magic trick. Now him, Salvador Dali and Matty Clarwine were good friends and peers. Gotta mention Clarwine. Amazing album covers. This is The Bitch's Brew from Miles Davis. Absolutely incredible. And he also created this, the Aleph Sanctuary. It was his magnum opus project, a cubic temple of all religions featuring 68 paintings representing some biblical passages, such as the Annunciation.
Where was this?
Sorry?
This sanctuary, where was it?
Where was it? Oh my God. Good question. Can I come back to that? It's probably, God, yeah, there is. I think it's in New York. I think that was his New York time. I'm pretty certain, yeah. Although he was originally German, he had a German-Polish father, a Jewish-Polish father and a German mother. And he said, I'm only half German and half Jewish with an Arab soul and an African heart. Okay, now this, yeah, Santana. The Santana cover is incredible. I think it's one of the best paintings like that. Okay, now this is my Kali. Some of you might have seen it downstairs. Now I want to tell you the story of this because it's, so I had a very deep experience with the Hindu goddess Kali. In fact, I was live painting on this right at the beginning of the last Occulture. So Kali is the force of time. She pierces the veil beyond mortality. She's the divine mother, the dark one, emerging from the void. She cuts the head off the ego, which is the root of all our suffering. So she cuts the crap, which is actually a very nice thing to do. She's a nice girl, really. It's a compassionate act. She was brought forth from the forehead of Durga to defeat the demons, which she did really well. But she was still raging, and the gods were like, how can we calm Kali down? So they sent in her lover Shiva to lie peacefully beneath her. Apparently that calmed her down. So I guess this is the moment just before she calmed down. And now, the real story, what really happened, is I was on that crazy pilgrimage some of you may have heard of, with a bunch of Robert Anton Wilson fans, the Discordians, the Applied Cosmic Trigger. And we went from CERN Abbas, the ancient chalk giant figure in England, to CERN in Switzerland to immanentize the eschaton. We were kind of joking, and then like 2019, 2020 happened, and we were like, oh. We went via Dan and Her, where we put on a play, and I was playing Carly. Now, there were loads of Scousers on the bus. That's what we call people from Liverpool, where the Beatles are from. Because Young had a dream about Liverpool being the pool of life. And I thought, well, that's funny. My grandfather died in a horrific accident just before World War II in Liverpool Bay, the Thetis submarine, where 100 men died. It's really awful. So I said to them, how about we do a ritual to release the souls of the Thetis? And they were up for it. So I had one Scouser dressed up as Hermes, led us down to the river, to the tower of this historic church that was overlooking the shipyard where the submarine was built. And I had 8 Scousers dressed up as Timothy Leary, and we were quoting from his book, The Psychedelic Experience, based on the Tibetan Book of the Dead. We called in their souls and had it into peace. I mean, they're sailors, you know, sense of humour I thought would work. I think it did. Now, just before we did the ritual, I was painting on Carly late at night, and I suddenly had this really strong urge to turn the painting on its side. What do you see? Do you see a submarine?
Oh, yeah.
It's clearly a submarine, right? And with the man at peace falling out of it. And do you also see, do you remember like the Blue Meanies? We all live. Okay. It's the Blue Meanies. I can see the Blue Meanies right in the centre. So the entire time that I thought I was painting a Hindu deity, my unconscious was busy beavering away on a picture of my dead Scouser ancestor, and also managing to achieve an uncanny resemblance to a famous cartoon, predicting a ritual that I was going to do in the future to resolve my ancestor in the past. Right? This is like, whoa, what did I just do? Okay, so yeah, that blew my mind a little bit. But this, it's a really good example of this kind of unconscious processing through art is exactly what the Surrealists were really fascinated with. One of the founders, Andrew Breton, wrote the Manifesto of Surrealism, defining psychic automatism as creativity with no rational thought. And they employed methods like decalcomania, you know, like throwing paint down, finding random patterns like butterfly pictures. And like, so not just in painting, of course, in writing, William Burroughs pioneered the cut-up technique, much like Bowie, in writing lyrics. And Salvador Dali called his intuitive process the automatic critical method. It's a way of drawing random inspiration from the unconscious psyche. Now, one incredible artist, greatly inspired by dreams and surrealism, is, of course, Leonora Carrington. British-born, she eventually settled in Mexico, where a group of surrealists gathered. And she incorporated alchemical themes in her work, which Jung used as a metaphor for psychological transformation. Alchemical resolution of the opposites of life and death, and dreaming and waking states, conscious and unconscious mind, and its sexual metaphors of union between the masculine and feminine principles. So in a short story called Down Below, she imagined I was transforming my blood into comprehensive energy, masculine and feminine, microcosmic and macrocosmic, and also into wine, which was drunk by the moon and the sun. In this work, there's a large white egg on a table, fed by droplets from the white rose that is suspended from the ceiling. The philosophical egg is a sign of transformation, while white roses, like white stones, indicate perfection of the alchemical feminine. The play of dark and light images throughout the painting suggests progress from negrido to albedo. Oh, we got that. Alchemical stages compared to psychological processes of healing the self from trauma to wholeness. So I would like to talk about the magical journey that I'm currently immersed in and painting about right now. I kind of wanted the painting to be ready, but it was a busy summer, so I'm going to be working on it this winter and releasing it next year. So it's a sequence of events to do with world events at the moment, my microcosm, the greater macrocosm. It started at the Menam Toll, the standing stones in Cornwall. There's one round stone with a hole in it and two very phallic upright stones. Folklore has it you have to pass through the stones for a blessing of fertility. It's also known for Ethel Colquhoun's famous painting, Sunset Birth. Now, Ethel was a British painter involved in the original Surrealism movement. She was interested in psychology and dreams and the occult. She created an abstract tarot deck that Fulgur had just producing on the Golden Dawn system. So, Ethel painted the figure of a woman passing through the stones of the Menantol. It shows channels of energy flowing through her body, connecting with the stones, the sun, and the earth. Now, I was near there last October when I got an email that a friend, Claudia, who played Eris in Cosmic Trigger, was suddenly dropped dead. She was on her deathbed. I had her on life support. So I went to this place to make prayers for her. And I went through the stone 3 times, and the 3rd time I heard a voice saying, "Can you change the prayer, please?" she was a very incredible theatrical character. And I was like, "Oh God, I know what you want. Look, I'm sending you this energy, do with it as you will, the person who really want you to stay." And I heard a voice go, "That's what I need." And she went through the portal into a haze of golden light. On the way home, I got the call that she died. I was like, yeah, no. And when I got back to my mother's, I found a journal next to my bed. I don't remember putting there, it was from years ago. I opened it and there was an article about the golden apples of immortality, about the Greek myth of Hercules on his quest for the apples of immortality in the paradise garden of Hesperides. Now, she was the actress who played Eris, the goddess of chaos, in the Cosmic Trigger, and who threw the golden apple. And this article talked about the immortality meaning to reawaken divine intensity or enthusiasm. So I asked her partner, why Cornwall? What's going on? And I said, that would be about her best friend. So, okay. Now, something else mysterious happened. I had been also, amongst other things, training with these guys at 13-Moon Mystery School. And each month we would go into a different face and aspect of the goddess. It's a hodgepodge of different traditions, but it works, like Aphrodite and Isis and Shakti. And the night before her funeral, I was emailed the Sumerian myth, the descent of Inanna. And this is very synchronistic because the opening act of the play she starred in was the descent of Inanna, narrated by Alan Moore. I thought, okay, this is weird. Apparently she'd been reading him. So you all know the myth, right? The Queen of Heaven wants to go down into the underworld to meet her dark sister, and at each of the 7 gates she's ordered to surrender an item of the royal wardrobe. So her crown, her earrings, her necklace, her breastplate, her rod of will, her girdle, and her cloak, and enters naked into the underworld where her sister kills her. And after 3 days she was rescued by her grandfather Enki, sent a rescue squad who got her body back and revived her, and she's reborn and she comes back. So it's a descent and return myth. It can be understood as a myth about shadow integration, the Negrido, the transmutation process. It's also a death rite, a letting go of the layers of identity and personality. So that was the perfect thing to do. I did a write about this just after her funeral, and then the next month was the alchemical goddess, so I went back to the Menantol. Now at the funeral, they were giving away her books, and I saw one on Lucian Freud, and I thought that must be for me, because a year previously I had sold my Triratna painting to one of his sons, which is also Sigmund Freud's grandson, right? It's inspired by time spent at the Kumbh Mela. I only found out afterwards that she'd just finished writing her play about her life, which is also about the Kumbh Mela. And the woman from the Menantol was his mother, the mother of Lucian Freud's son, who bought the painting about the Kumbh Mela. I was like, this is getting really weird. What's going on? And, so I was reading the book about Lucian Freud, and I discovered that the guy who bought my painting was called Francis after the painting Francis Bacon, who was good friends with Freud, and a descendant of the famous Rosicrucian of the same name. Can you imagine those two sitting around talking about it? Freud and Bacon. And it was now this was important for me because it was the anniversary, the 23rd anniversary of an event that happened to do with Bacon, which is why this woman was important to me in the first place. I wrote an art history essay years ago about 3 artists, Francis Bacon, Marilyn Evans, and George Gross, that was investigating the shadow side of human nature, the politics that led to World War II, and how it could be resolved. And the whole thing seemed to prophesize events that played out in the Judgment of Paris, the Greek myth where Eris throws the apple and Paris has to choose between the 3 goddesses, Aphrodite, Hera, and Athena, which is what she played in the play. And of course, we choose Aphrodite and is given Helen, which starts the War of Troy. So I was in the middle of all this last winter, and at that moment, the Royal Academy decides to join in and has an entire retrospective on Francis Bacon. I'm like, very timely. And then Putin invaded Ukraine, and everyone's talking about the potential of World War III. And I realized the relevance and the synchronicity of this myth, of the Eris myth, to do with what's going on right now, and the tensions that's going on right now, and also, in fact, the significance of Inanna, Ishtar. So, shortly afterwards, an exhibit on surrealism opened at the Tate, examining how surrealism was born out of a time of great conflict, and Freud and Jung developed psychology as a response to healing PTSD, and then the British Museum opened an exhibit on feminine power, the divine to the demonic, exploring archetypes of goddesses, of female power, and they had the original 3,000-year-old Sumerian tablet of Inanna, Queen of Heaven, goddess of war, passion, and desire, and they had the statues of Athena and Aphrodite. And I was like, well, this all kind of lines up, doesn't it? And so I realized how all these events are in the collective unconscious, and it gets me pondering the eternal questions of war and peace, conflict and resolution. What is the impulse that causes conflict, and how do we transcend it and resolve it? Can we invoke the resolution of Paris? Do we need some kind of divine intervention from the goddess? Or do we need some kind of balance and equilibrium between the forces of dark and light? Or do we need some kind of alchemical process of transmutation where we can realize that we are all one? I'm not sure, but this is the message that the universe has given me right now, and I'm painting about it right now. So I leave you with Artemis, goddess of the hunt.
Thank you.